Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. The May jobs report came out Friday. Initial data on Thursday showed unemployment claims went up again last week. Now, regardless of the data, some households say they're still struggling to stay afloat. John Lawrence has more.
The U.S.'s middle class is getting smaller, and the number of Americans falling toward poverty is on the rise.
Most people have seen their wages go up, their earnings go up over time, but they're not enough to compensate for the higher prices.
According to a recent report from the Pew Research Center, in 1971, 61% of the nation was middle class. As of 2023, that number dropped to 51%.
Just try not to eat out as much. I kind of realized pretty quickly that that's unsustainable, so just trying to make some more meals at home.
Pew researchers define middle class as having a total income at least 2/3 to twice as much as the median household. And analysts say things like the monthly bill at the grocery store,
I have seen it increase, definitely,
to sky-high interest rates and persistent inflation has more middle-class Americans keeping a tighter grip on their wallets.
People are now having to realize, and they always do, but I think even more so, they have to make choices. We're seeing that in the marketplace.
The report from Pew Research also says when adjusted for inflation, all classes had incomes that were higher in 2022 than in 1970. But the increases for those in the middle and lower brackets were much lower than the upper class. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
A new survey from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln suggests that a majority of Nebraskans have dependable internet access at the least, but they say there's still a disparity between urban and rural areas. The survey found 45% of the state says they have very dependent internet service. That number goes up to 50% for Nebraskans who live in cities, but for those on farms or in rural areas, just 26% surveyed said they could consistently rely on their internet connection. The state officials tell us gains are being made. The Nebraska Broadband Office estimates $1.9 billion was invested in 2023 to expand internet access. Meanwhile, the Better Business Bureau says phishing scams becoming more and more prevalent. The agency says reports of those specific types of scams nearly doubled last year. Scammers use emails or texts with links to try to get victims to click on them and share their personal information. Often, the scammers will pretend to be utility companies or law enforcement with urgent messages for the victim. Experts say the advent of artificial intelligence has allowed scammers to find new ways to target individuals.
Phishing is one of the oldest and most well-known scam techniques. It's incredibly successful because of how adaptable it is to a variety of forms of communication. And over the past 12 months, many of us have had a front row seat to artificial intelligence being a hot topic.
The BBB says always be on alert for phishing scams. They say look for red flags like claims of suspicious activity or fraudulent logins. Messages with typos or obvious grammatical errors are also signs you're likely dealing with a scammer. A property value in Jefferson County is increasing significantly. That's being seen all over the state. Kyle Mathis spoke to one assessor to find out why this is happening.
Property values in Jefferson County have increased significantly lately. But why is that? The county is required by law to have property value be within 92 to 100% of the market price. After an evaluation, the county assessor found that the ratio for Jefferson County was below those numbers. A large number of home sales for a profit can cause that.
When you go to sell it in 2024, it's going to be worth a little bit more than it was in 1988.
Well, one example of this is, for example, like some of these houses behind me, they could be sold for around $22,000 in 1981, and now in 2022 and around this area, it could be sold at around $185,000. That is how much it will increase. The county is forced through state statute to equalize the property around the county. If one house sells for a profit, residents around the county who did not sell their property are still affected. This is the case around the state. Jefferson County Assessor Mary Banahan explains the process of property equalization.
If someone sells their property for a profit and it's a good sale, then the assessor's office has to analyze all the good sales and raise the properties that have not sold to equalize the value across the market area and the valuation groups, and that's what statutes require us to do.
Banahan says with the sales of houses being higher recently, the county has to adjust to the market price, which would be higher as well. With more people moving in and out of Jefferson County, Banahan is required to follow these statutes.
If houses are selling and they're selling for more than what we had them assessed for, and that impacts when we do our analysis. It says for equalization, we have to raise the properties that did not sell.
In Fairbury, Kyle Mathis, News Channel, Nebraska.
The expansion of a solar farm in Grand Island will make it the second largest in the state. A news release says crews are installing over 21,000 panels in a solar farm on the northeastern part of town. The Grand Island Utilities Department is in charge of the project. They expect it to be done by November. City officials tell us this will have an effect for the next couple of years.
Overall, what it's going to mean for our customers is a couple things. We're going to get renewable energy that'll last about 20 years, and over that 20-year lifespan, we'll have fossil fuel.
Total cost for the project is $14 million. The city using $4 million from the Inflation Reduction Act to help with the cost. Production engineers say the 9.9 megawatt solar farm will be able to power about 2,000 homes. This farm is in addition to one that's already owned and operated by the city. The combined wattage and power supply means 20% of the generation output for the city will come from renewable energy. Well, it's construction season in southeast Nebraska. Part of Highway 4 will be the site of road and culvert construction starting next week. The work scheduled to begin near Lewiston and Virginia for about 12 miles. The spur into Lewiston will also be resurfaced. There'll be traffic maintained with a pilot car and flag workers. The project's mostly in Pawnee County. It should be done by this fall. We're seeing blood shortages all across the nation. Every donation counts in potentially saving a life. And Central Nebraska's Tri-Cities participating in one of their biggest blood drives of the year to help out. The Battle of the Badges blood drive held in Grand Island and Kearney earlier this week. Its final stop was Thursday afternoon in Hastings. Put on by the American Red Cross, Battle of the Badges pitted Hastings and Fire Rescue and Hastings Police Department against one another. For the 6th straight year, donors gave blood and chose to support their donation toward either Team Fire or Team Police. Hastings Fire and Rescue has won bragging rights each of the past 2 years, but say they're still keeping the real reason of the drive in mind.
The fire department is used to beating Hastings Police Department on just about every competition that we have. But in all fun, that's what we're here for today, is to have a little bit of fun, get to show support for the community.
The police in Hastings say they agree the camaraderie between the two departments is what makes the annual tradition a blast and keeps their relationship strong.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, when my wife came in the door, I told the firefighters that they couldn't harass her for a vote. So just bringing the friendly competition, it's big for me, and we like to poke fun at each other. We do it on scene when it's appropriate and just give each other a hard time.
Both departments are also looking to keep the Tri-City plaque in Hastings as they've beaten out Grand Island and Kearney each year since 2020. In sports, the Northeast Nebraska All-Star Football Classic brings the best of the best in Northeast Nebraska onto the same field for one game. Final preparations are underway, and Luke Stera has a look at this year's Red Team.
It would mark the first time in a decade the Red Team has won 2 in a row in the Northeast All-Star Classic. For head coach Mike Hassler, the win would break a streak of his own.
This is the third All-Star game I've done, and unfortunately the first 2 I've done, I was on the losing end, so I said I would love to finally win one.
With an all-senior roster, Hassler says the games played between players in the past has helped the roster gel over the past week.
I've known a lot of these guys and how important this is to them, so I think it's gonna be fun to them. But I know a lot of us are bigger names in Northeast. I think we got to step up and just become leaders.
Keenan Valverde has been one of the premier running backs in Northeast Nebraska. claiming 2 state titles and numerous honors as a Pierce Blue Jay. With having the Shrine Bowl and the All-Star Classic the past 2 weeks, it was never a question for Valverde. He was playing in both games.
I think obviously I want to go out there and give everything I have. I want to stay healthy for college, but this is the last time I'm ever going to play with a lot of these guys.
Most of the players have seen each other over the past 4 years in multiple games. Wayne's Garrett Schultz remembers playing against Valverde and others, but is looking at the game as a chance to keep the red team's win streak going.
A lot of us were rivals, but they're fun guys, and it's fun to be on the same team.
Hassler hopes the bond between players throughout the week helps them play for each other on Saturday.
Came in under this week just trying to build a little camaraderie through the week, so hopefully by the time we get to Saturday, we're ready to play for each other.
The Northeast Nebraska All-Star Classic game kicks off at 11 Saturday morning with NCN's coverage starting at 10:45. Reporting for News Channel Nebraska, this is Luke Stera.
Well, Nebraskans are being told to prepare for possible hail today, but likely won't see anything like what they saw in Texas over the weekend. Check this out. The National Weather Service says this potentially record-breaking hailstone is a little over 7 inches in diameter. As you can see, slightly larger than a Monster energy drink can. It was found by a storm chaser near Vigo Park, Texas on Sunday following a thunderstorm. If it does set the record, it would beat the previous record of a 6-inch hailstone that was found in Hundo back in 2021. And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com, click on the news tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.